and General Phil Breedlove, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander in Europe. General, thanks for hopping on with us on short notice. From Blake's reporting, they decided not to take kinetic action because of risk to safety and security of the people on the ground. This is Montana. This is not New York City. You tell everybody to stay inside for 15 minutes, and if it happens to irritate a couple of moose when it falls to the ground, so be it. There's a reason they didn't shoot it down, but it's not this.
Well, it might be partially this. I mean, this is a large balloon, and there's probably a fair amount of mass hanging from it. You're exactly right. The likelihood that it would strike anything of value is pretty low, but there is, that off chance. But I think that you're on to the right questioning, and that is there are other things to consider. And this is short notice, so I just am reacting. But the first thing that comes to mind is, that if we shoot something down Chinese because it's in our airspace, we fly in a lot of places in the South China Sea with our aircraft and things where China claims that as their airspace. And there may be a consideration out there that we don't want to start a process of shooting things that are in these kind of contested areas.
What do you make of the Pentagon saying that there is no risk to U.S. intelligence? They're flying over a couple of the main nuclear silo fields. They're near Offutt Air Force Base. They're also near Grand Forks Air Force Base. This is the base that the Chinese wanted to build a couple of grain silos nearby that the U.S. Air Force just shut down. I feel like there's messages being sent that aren't exactly what we're reading and hearing.
That was a little hard to understand how we would come to that conclusion so quickly, but good data has come out. This is not the first time this has happened. It is flying in a place where they may actually be able to collect better some of the intelligence they're collecting from their satellites. And so there is marginal value to some, but what we don't know is all the sensors that are in this package. And there may be sensors that are not usable from satellites, so they might actually be collecting some new data. So we are so early in this, and there's so much that we don't know.
Yeah, we've got our own balloons, obviously, and we want to be clear. Some of the pictures we're showing you are of our long-range balloons. Some of them are of Chinese mock-ups and sort of renderings of what balloons might look like, and then we have at least one photo that might be of the balloon itself. Some of these are the size of the Hindenburg, which is much bigger than a 747, 90,000 feet. This struck us, and your background in the Air Force is key here. This is the live tracking of 3 KC-135s right now that are doing racetrack patterns all over Montana. And I'm thinking KC-135s, they can be tankers, but there's also a lot of our own signals intelligence aircraft that use that same marker, and there's a lot of planes flying up there that will not have their transponder on that the 135s are supporting. Are they all looking at this balloon? Well,
Leland, again, we are all just guessing, but from looking at this pattern, they are clearly concerned about this balloon and whether these are just straight KC-135s or, as you aptly pointed out, many of our collection platforms are based on that same aircraft type. So I am unable to make a judgment because we don't actually know what those 3 aircraft are, but those patterns they're flying are clearly oriented on the path of the balloon.
All right. You put all this together, Lloyd Austin in the Philippines making a deal to surround the Chinese bases on the South China Sea, Blinken going over, the Secretary of State meeting with Xi Jinping over the weekend. You've then also, on top of that, got the State of the Union less than a week away. You've got this huge push in Congress to take on China. You put all that together and triangulate it, you come up with the why now, right? And that's what I keep getting back to. What is the subtitle? What's the sub message to China? Is it, hey, we know what you're doing, we know what you're up to, and thank you very much for playing?
Well, I think now you're on what is really, to me, the most interesting question that places us. The why now? And really, there's two answers. This could be a mistake. We're not always positive about how these upper level winds move, and maybe the Chinese intended for this thing to come and go and not be a problem at this particular time, and maybe that wind pattern has caused them a problem. On the other hand, maybe this is exactly what they wanted. All of these events about to happen, and maybe they are then signaling, hey, we're here, and we have the capability to look at you.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.